Oh, wow. Welcome to Friday evening. And I think, what is today's date? It's the 18th of April, 2025. It happens to be Good Friday. And I hope that you are ready for a great Easter weekend with you and your family if you celebrate that. If not, I still hope you have a great weekend. Some do. My family does here in Eastern Kentucky. Not surprised. So, anyway, we've got a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of stuff to talk about today. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, though, was something that came to me while I was thinking about Good Friday and what that means for Christians. Okay, Christians view it as the day that Jesus was crucified. Okay, whether you believe the stories or not, this is the story. Okay, so there's a story in the story here. So it's the day that Jesus was crucified. He was hung on that cross by the Roman soldiers and died there. But there was one thing that he said that really struck me, because I'm trying to figure out what did he mean by that, because there's so much to it. It's recorded in the books of the New Testament that he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Now, here's my question to you. What was the meaning behind that statement? What did he mean by it? He was experiencing a tremendous amount of pain and anguish, obviously, there. So what did he mean by that statement? Given that he knew that he was, according to the stories, the story says he rose again on the third day and came back into the living. So what did he mean by that? What did he mean by, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do"? What was he talking about there? Because here he is, this man's on the cross. He's been persecuted by the Romans and the Jewish people there too, and denied by them, and hung up on that cross, and a crown of thorns put on his head, according to the story. And then he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." You would think that, knowing the history, knowing where he was going, actually, in another 3 days on the Easter Sunday, what we call Easter Sunday, that he would have said something else. But instead he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Why is that? I don't have a good answer for that one. Does anyone? I really don't understand that one. But it does raise a serious question about forgiveness. It does raise a serious question about having empathy for those around us. Empathy for those who don't necessarily look like us, believe like us, think like us. Having not just empathy, but doing in the Beatitudes within Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where he's out telling people, reaching out to people who are less than, according in the eyes of the community, in the eyes of the overwhelming population of the area. The sick, the infirm, the lepers, and all of these different people, and the harlots and the whores and all of that kind of stuff. He deliberately went out to them and got to know them. There's a message in that for America today. What's going on in our world? We have the pious ones on the far, 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 far fringe right, using their religion to bash people they disagree with. And they're doing it quite successfully these days. It reminds me a lot of what the Pharisees were like in Jesus's time. They were out to wipe him out because he was a threat to their way of thinking. He was hanging out with the wrong people. He was willing to bring the wrong people into the fold. He appealed to all of those people, the minorities, the women. He surrounded himself by thinking and prosperous women. Okay, he surrounded himself by these people. And the masses loved him. except for they weren't large enough to actually take over and win, because that's a lot like where transgender people are in this country today, right? There are so few of us, LGBT people, all of it, the entire alphabet there. It's really that there are so few of us in this country that it is easy for the Pharisees and Sadducees and all these people up there in these religious places, and I use religious to mean any of them that go after minorities. For instance, Muslims do. They can't stand LGBT people. They can't stand throw them off a building. We know that. That's horrible. Christians would do the same thing, though, given the chance. Because I had someone put a comment on one of my pages not long ago talking about kill the homosexuals. What? You're kidding. Where'd that come from? Where do you get that? And then they had the gall to actually quote something out of the Bible. Really? No. That word wasn't even in the Bible before 1946. Yeah, that's true. Whether you believe it or not, just look and find out for yourself, okay? So the point here is the message that Jesus had on Good Friday was, one, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's something we can repeat, knowing that we are going to come back in a couple of days, okay? We're not going to come back in a couple of days, unfortunately. But we do have to take that same kind of stance and look at someone in the eye and say, I forgive you for what you're doing to the minorities in this country. I forgive you for arresting a U.S.-born citizen in Florida and detaining him and finally being ordered to release him. ICE did that. The modus operandi of the organization that's really an organization that's running the country today is move fast and break things. Well, that's what they're doing, folks. They are doing everything in their power to break everything they can. Head Start programs. That was the one that came out this morning, that the president's White House put out a proposed budget for 2026, and in it was the elimination of Head Start. This is, I don't even know what kind of humanity would drive people to take away from other people simply because those other people don't have enough to do the things that they need to do, or don't have the freedom or the money and a lot of time. They don't have the time to do it because they're working all the time. So Head Start helps a lot of these families right here in Eastern Kentucky, where I'm located in Pike County. Helps a lot of people around here, the Head Start program. And yes, the president that the people here in this county overwhelmingly voted for wants to remove the Head Start program that supports a lot of families here. My goodness, folks. We tried to warn you. We tried to warn a lot of people about what was coming. It spelled it out in Project 2025. We just did not know. I did not anticipate that this president and his administration would take Project 2025, which he had denied all along and said he wasn't going to be doing, even though he surrounded himself by all the key players from Project 2025. They took Project 2025 and then kicked it in the butt with a lot of steroids. They jacked that thing up, and what we have today is something that is Project 2025 on steroids, folks. This thing is, they have gone out and done things that was only on the wish list in Project 2025. So much for the humanity that's coming out of this group in leadership in this country right now. Now let's go talk a little bit about the trans people involved in all of this, okay? Yeah. We've brought a lot of it on ourselves, haven't we? We've gone out there and made a fool of ourselves in front of the world. Just a handful of these people, really, just not all, okay? Not all by any means, but just a handful of people in the trans community have made a fool of themselves and then put the bullseye on all of us because of their selfishness. I don't know how else to say it. That's what it was, folks. I mean, there are so many examples around the country right now that the media over on the right, and Fox News, by the way, is a media company, and it's rapidly becoming a legacy media company. They always lambast all of that. But anyway, but here we are, organizations actually saying things like, that person over there, look at them. They've got a beard. They went into the women's bathroom and shaved. And they claim they're a woman. Well, I've got news for you on the right, and I've got news for the person who did that. You are not. You have no respect for the space you went into. Whoever did that, that person has zero respect for the space they went into. They have zero respect for the space that they claim they want to be a part of. They don't want to be a part of it. They want to go in there and just stand and make a scene. And somebody's cutting the weeds right outside my window. I don't have control over that. I hope you don't mind the weed eater. But anyway, it's like they made a fool out of themselves. And then it becomes talking points over on the right forever and ever and ever. And it doesn't matter if it was one or two people who've done it out of a population, a possible population of us of like, I don't know, 1.5 million, 1.6 million people in the country are trans. Most Americans in the country don't even know what trans means, but they've heard a lot about us from the right, okay? They've heard a lot about us from the right. And that's everything that comes out every day, everything that comes out of the media on the right, every day. There's always something about trans people. Always. You ever wonder why they're always talking about us? Because they don't want you to forget about us. They want to use their side, their narrative to define us. And we are not defined by those who claim they're a woman. They walk into into any space. They've still got their junk and all this kind of crap. They walk in there and they do this stuff and they come out and then they get all offended because somebody pointed it out to them and actually asked them not to be in there, but they get offended by it because, you know, they claim that they are. And in reality, I got news for you folks. You are not that. You are not a woman. You are a caricature. And not just that, I'm going to say this pretty bluntly at this point. You probably get off being in there doing all that. Unfortunately. Now, and if you're one of those people, if I see you in the bathroom and you're trying to pretend to be the woman, you got your beard and all of that and everything, and I'm going to grab you by the hand and pull you out of there myself. Hard truths, huh? Yep, hard truths. So here's a little funny thing to end this show today. Two. This one's not funny. This was supper. I don't know if you can see it. It's steak and baked potato and deviled eggs. Yeah, I made that and started eating it at about 10 till showtime. I've still got something left to eat, and I'm actually just, I'm getting hungry. But that's what I made for the family tonight. You know, they needed food. My mom's doing all right. Sleeps a lot as usual. My brother is still attached to his oxygen machine and spending all the time on the couch because he has no energy to keep going. Wears him out within a minute. My sister's doing all right, and my cousin's doing all right. Talked with her today, visited with her a minute, and then I'm supposed to be going out to Columbia, Kentucky for a wedding next weekend. Supposed to try to take my mom and sister. My brother won't be going, but my mom and sister, and hopefully they feel well enough for me to do that. We've already made plans for them to be there. We just hope they're well enough to make it happen. Heading out there for one of my nephews from my sister over on that side, my sister's family. So we're all invited to go out to there. Anyway, the funny thing I want to mention just really quickly, how many of you have heard about those hackers that took over the the crosswalk signage over on the West Coast? I don't know if they've done it on the East Coast yet or not, but up in Seattle, somebody was posting stuff about Bezos up there. Oh my God, yeah. Going after them and saying, it's all right, I guess, to money does make someone happy and stuff like that. And I've got a little story up here I'm reading actually right now. Let me see if I can find a couple of comments. It's, how some of the signage, you push a button and it says, please wait, or you can walk, wait or walk, stuff like that. Well, somebody hacked those things. Probably several people, okay, but they don't know who did it yet. I'm sure they're looking. By now, they've gone in and either deactivated the audio part of the signs or something. One of them said, "Boycott Tesla." No, that's crazy. Don't do that. But when you get to know him, he's actually really. Wait a minute. Now this was funny. Let me back up and start this one right. Let's see. This says, it's funny. I used to think he was just a dumb sack of expletive goes in there. The voice resembling Musk begins, referring to President Trump. But when you get to know him, he's actually really sweet and tender and loving. And in the background, the voices resembling Trump is saying, "Sweetie, come back to bed." That one was up in Seattle. Oh, goodness. Another one from Menlo Park. This had to do with Zuckerberg. "Hi, this is Mark Zuckerberg, but real ones call me Zuck." Okay. It's normal to feel uncomfortable or even violated as we forcefully insert AI into every facet of your conscious experience. And I just want to assure you, you don't need to worry, because there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. Anyway, see ya. I'm reading from, by the way, let me give a proper citation here. Los Angeles Times, out in California, obviously. Terry Castleman, staff writer for the Los Angeles Times. And this was on the 15th of April, okay? And the title of the article is, just so make it the proper citation, "Hackers turn Silicon Valley crosswalk into mockery of Musk, Zuckerberg," and it doesn't say Bezos, but Bezos too. They got Bezos as well. Oh my goodness. Let me go on down. Let's read another one real quick, and then I'm going to sign off, okay? Let me see. La, 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 la. Well, there's not another one in there. Donald Trump. Oh, here's one. In Dallas. Oh, I didn't know there was one in Dallas. It says, in Dallas, a group of signs flashed the messages like, "Donald Trump is a shape-shifting lizard," and "Bernie for president." Another one in Virginia that was hacked. Oh, I did it on the East Coast. "Vote Trump, crooked Hillary." Local officials decried the practice, saying it put drivers in danger. No, they were laughing. Oh my goodness. California has some of the first reported examples of sign hacking. Caution, loose gorilla. Smoke weed every day. Mm-hmm. Biggest one was LA traffic. That one occurred back in 2007. That's something different. Okay. So I see no comments. If you put comments in there, it gives me something to lead into and talk about a little bit more sometimes. But I do appreciate everyone who has been watching the show. We've got over 250 some people who have watched the show, and that's pretty awesome, I think. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy Easter weekend. Take care of your families and yourself. Look out for each other. You are indeed your brothers and sisters' keepers. You really are. And someday that may even come back to be something you need to actually address. Okay? Have a great weekend, everyone.